In the upper left, in the blue, he's for Alpha X, their lone remaining member at this point. It's Astrea.
And spawning down in the bottom right, recently joining the Platinum Heroes, it is the challenger eGGz. I think we can safely say that eGGz is the best Colombian player out there. I think it would be remiss to imply anything else. And it's going to be neat to see if he can, you know, get something done against the relatively, well, I mean, I say relatively, the heavily favored Astrea. eGGz is not building his pool. eGGz is not building, oh my goodness. Ooh. He forgot his pool for about 15 seconds.
And the supply doesn't match up nicely at all. Not only is it time, it's supply. He went up to 19 supply or 20 supply to build that.
Yeah.
Which now means your queens will not get started when the hatch is done, which means your lings will not get started when the, well, they'll get started when the pool is done, but it's not going to match up nicely with the larva. And any sort of early adept annoyance is just going to be that much more annoying. And the bad news, Steadfast, on top of everything else we're looking at here, Astrea scouts this. He saw the pool was late. He knows what's happening. And yeah, okay. I think he was looking for the creep at the third, but just barely missed that.
Yes.
Regardless, he's aware of what's happening. Yeah, okay,
yeah,
he saw the hatch,
wants
never
to,
mind. Yeah.
He did see the hatch. He just wanted to make sure that this wasn't a Dark play, where Dark has been pretending to go to that third base, specifically on Grespon. He's done it a couple times. Did it versus Max Packs once, did it versus Classic once in recent ESL Open Cups, and yeah, he faked it out. I think Rogue did the same thing. That was where we saw the build initially in the GSL finals. Very clever build, but Astrea just double checking, crossing his T's, dotting his I's. With nothing happening though, eGGz is significantly further behind the position he should be in, with absolutely nothing having happened in this game. And we're not going to see it take effect for a little while, but basically the big deal about this is those queens. It is going to be the fact that he won't be able to get the value from those injects for an extra 15 seconds. That means those drones are going to be mining a little bit less. It's not going to lose him the game necessarily, but it certainly starts him from a disadvantage that he does not want to have to deal with.
And it would be tempting to stay Steadfast that, oh, well, okay, the Zerg got away with getting their pool 3 supply later. Like, that is greedy, that is good for them. But you're right, with the queens there, that is by far the most important component of any Zerg setup. You get injects, you get creep spread, and delaying those pretty much at all is just always going to be bad. Now, this is an Oracle opener, right? The Adept actually didn't get a ton on the other side of the map, and that is something, you know, got 3 lings, and that's something, actually. Sorry, I got a drone, too. What am I talking about? But the Oracles, that's where life starts to get a little bit more complicated. You talk about the lack of queens. We have 3 on the map right now, but normally we'd have maybe 4 or 5, right? You would have a lot more to go kind of defend against this. But even still, I mean, eGGz is positioned well.
Yeah, he's positioned reasonably well with these queens. Astrea, though, is still going to be able to get some great damage. I love this shade from Astrea. He is going to be able to get into a really nice position. Finds another drone even.
Oh, that's gross.
Almost gets a 4th. Oh, man, that's an amazing start, actually, for Astrea. And meanwhile, eGGz tried to find some value on the other side of the map. He got a probe, forced out a little bit of Oracle energy, but really isn't going to be able to find much more than that. And Astrea, this is all systems go for him. He gets a 3rd gas of the natural and a very quick Twilight Council. This is a really fast blink follow-up. Only 2 oracles. This is going to be a lot of pressure coming out from Astrea to start things off in the mid game.
Yeah, it's funny. Last year around this time, you and I were starting to freak out about this new hero style, this Oracle into Blink, this idea that it was just so much pressure on the Zerg that they never got to expand, they never got to drone up, and we actually would see Hero at times go and out-expand the Zerg before kind of build orders caught up. And one of the ways you would do it, and because it wasn't quite solved, not just yet, Lings try to get on top of probes. They don't get much done. One of the ways we saw Astrea or saw Hero doing this, and we saw Protoss players doing it, was with a much quicker blink, right? With less oracles, quicker blink, and then their blink would be hitting right around the 6-minute mark. And at times, actually, there was a cabal of a couple players. It was Astrea, it was, I want to say Hearthstone, and then Scarlet and Neeb all talking about it. And they were of the opinion that that 6-minute blink was far superior to the 7:30-ish, get a +1, get a forge, get +1, because it had so much pressure on the map, and it allowed you to maybe play a little bit greedier behind that. So it seems like Astrea is kind of reaching back about a year into his bag of tricks and pulling this out. And given how the game has gone thus far, I really don't hate it. It provides him so much utility in a game state where eGGz is already kind of playing on the back foot.
Yeah, he's really playing on the back foot right now. Another 4 drones do go down. He does jump in on top of the... Oh, well, he doesn't actually really jump in on top of anything. To get any stalkers, got to take a look at the battle report. Okay, yeah, 1 stalker went down for 12 lings, and now Blink is going to complete. eGGz is absolutely going to have to give up this base. Please get the cancel, though. Okay, last second. Creep spread, non-existent. There's no +1 melee. Roaches are going to be produced. Astrea is only on 4 gates, so this does not have, like, any kill potential, really. But it could get a lot of really valuable trades. And... I mean, I say there's no kill potential, but if eGGz can't get out enough units, this is a little bit frightening.
Oh, the stasis. Oh, he gets all the lings in the stasis. So, yeah, you're right. Astrea doesn't have kill potential here. He's not going to be able to shove on through, certainly not stay on creep, but it does give him the opportunity to hang around a little bit more, to maybe get a queen, get a roach, to just, have a little bit better time. And behind this, of course, he's already transitioning. We have charge on the way. He has the additional gateways. He's got the 4th base halfway done. I'd like to see a forge at some point, get those upgrades. But instead, that extra gas, that you might go into forge and +1, he's getting a robo, which is, when we talk about how this is kind of that oracle goes down. But when we talk about this hero style, right, this heavy pressure and him, Astrea pulling a year back, one of the things that does not characterize that style is getting a robo. You stay on your gateways and maybe an aggressive pylon for so long. So Astrea, he's modernizing, I guess, the idea a little bit.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, it's been modernized quite a bit already, but Astrea has always been a player that likes to play a little bit, march to the beat of his own drum just a little bit, and he's always been just a player that enjoys playing, well, I mean, he plays styles that he enjoys playing more so than anything, and I think that's a really admirable thing to do because it's so easy to get caught up in the grind of playing that you can forget that, this should be enjoyable. You should be having a good time with it. And it makes it such that he really approaches the game in a fresh direction than almost any other player. Now, Astrea behind this, adding on a robotics facility, or a second robotics facility and a robotics base, who's going to be able to get up into those Colossus or Disruptors. Nice Blink forward, does trap a couple of units. I mean, eGGz is in a position, he's playing Roach Hydra right now. If Astrea gets even 1 round of robotics bay units out and eGGz doesn't transition pretty soon, like, there's going to be just about nothing that eGGz can do.
Yeah, technically Hydras are good against Stalkers. Yeah, sure, but when we talk about, again, this game state with the Disruptors on top of that one, that becomes even less of the case. And eGGz, not only is he struggling to contain against this rather, honestly, small number of Stalkers here, Zealots, the run-by on the north side that denied his 5th base, so his economy is not in the best position either. And at some point, Astrea is going to bring this army together. As you said, he's going to add these Disruptors. He's going to have +2 and maybe add an armor upgrade. And at that point, when Astrea brings his entire army together here, that's when eGGz is going to be a bit afraid. He's going to have problems. He does have a hive on the... Well, he has the precursor to a hive on the way. We have that infestation pit, but 4 dropper lords, what's this for?
That is a really good question, but I don't know that we're going to get the answer to it because we've got 13 drones already falling, 14 drones, and the Zealot Warpin has already been very successful. Queen going to fall as well. They will get cleaned up, but here comes the continued pressure from Astrea, utilizing his high ground very effectively here on Crespon. And this is before the Disruptors have even joined up. Now they are here. eGGz just really cannot fight this army easily. Army value is pretty even, but it's just the quality of tech right now for Astrea is so much better.
I do like what eGGz is doing here a little bit. Oh, so many Zealots on the Warpin. And now Astrea is going to move in. Disruptor shot. He gets a Queen. Actually doesn't get that much done. And the Roaches, for the most part, they're doing their job steadfast. They're just soaking for the Hydras so the Zealots don't ever make contact. Disruptor shot from the backside. Gets like 1 or 2 Hydras. The stasis, of course, saves the rest of the Lings from going down. And I was talking about how much I liked what eGGz was doing, right, with knocking down the rocks, giving himself that opportunity for this round, but that was actually, a fairly solid fight. And what is that, 12, 10 Roaches into the main base here. Astrea starting to ravage eGGz's base, but eGGz kind of doing the same thing, and he's going to get this outlying base as well. He's added a lot of chaos on the map right now, and Astrea, he's a little slow in responding.
Yeah, I think he recalled into the main base. Disruptor shots. Oh, they're going to be big in the center. And the recall has been able to clean this up. eGGz creating a lot of chaos, as you said. But there's still Zealots in the main base. There's still a War Prism there. And there are 12 gateways for Astrea. So eGGz, he's put a lot of pressure onto his opponent, but he needs to keep that pressure up, or he will get kind of overwhelmed here. Disruptor shot, the first one being placed very poorly. The second one does get 4 Hydras, though. That is a really valuable shot. It's a slow warping of Zealots. If that's a fast warping, this completely turns this fight around. But instead, it is going to be eGGz finding a surprising amount of value, but the warping will ultimately go off, and that will clean up all of this army. And Astrea, it was a really chaotic couple of moments for him, and I applaud eGGz for it, but Astrea is going to be able to get back in here with another warp-in. I mean, the big problem is the tech. That's the biggest problem right now for eGGz.
Yeah, we have this infestation pit, but no infestors and no hive. Like you have 2 reasons that you're gonna go get an infestation pit in this game. Maybe you get some infestors to shut down stalkers or something, but I think we're past that. Really, the goal is you want hive, you want vipers, you want to be able to abduct these disruptors, and in fairness, eGGz can't really afford that. He's got maybe 200 gas in the bank right now. His economy has been pretty heavily hindered over the course of this as Astrea pulls ahead and him mining pretty significantly once again. So eGGz has this horrible choice. Do you max out? Do you build a bunch of Roach Hydra with your +2 attack and try to go again on the off chance you make more chaos, but you know that you lose this game in 5 minutes? Or do you get a hive and give up all control on the map right now, let Astrea get all of the money that he has, and then it's like, well, okay, you're going to lose the game in 5 minutes anyways because your economy's kind of shot.
Yeah, well, yeah, not just the economy, but like your opponent gets up to this huge disruptor count. Maybe they even start adding in Colossus, which would be a good move. He is going to come back into the main base. We'll be able to get a couple of these dropper lords in here. Recall is available again, but it looks like he's going to just elect to use warp-ins. And eGGz is trying to hit on the 4th base, but there are static defenses, there are disruptors, archons. Astrea really just needs to make sure the main base doesn't get out of hand. The main army, though, eGGz, well, those disruptor shots, that's why you can't really out multi-prong a setup like this. You're the one who has to be paying attention on all fronts to make sure those disruptor shots don't land. And now Astrea has pulled massively ahead in economy, massively ahead in supply, and the tech it's insurmountable.
Yeah, the disruptors are going to hit the rest of this, and even if the Nexus goes down, eGGz does too. Although, you know, Steadfast, I love trying to observe games like that, because where do you look? There, okay, so we have damage in eGGz's main, we have damage in Astrea's main. Astrea is also doing damage on, or also taking damage on the 4th, on his 5th base, I guess, on the 6 o'clock position. He's taking damage on the high ground base. He's taking damage in his main. On his 4th base, he's got a run by over on the other high ground base, and you're just like, everything's happening all at once. Where the shot's gonna go off, and you know, good job there figuring out exactly where to go. But at that point, the players have to make the same decision we do as when we're figuring out where to show you what's happening. What is the most important fight? Like, where do I need to look? Where's the most explosive potential? Where are the disruptors is kind of the big question there. Where do I need a micro more than anything else? And yeah, they're hopping around, but again, they did focus on that fight in the front. We saw the disruptors go off, and that told the tale. But again, it's fun to see him stressed.
Yeah, that was actually so close to eGGz just running away with that game. Mm-hmm. If he maybe takes 2 less disruptor shots at the front while that drop is going off of the main base, while he's hitting that 5th base, while he's trying to out multitask Astrea, he almost took that 1-0 lead. Like, that was a really nice setup from eGGz. Astrea ultimately did hold on and did have everything he needed, and he got the dub, as I think we expected going into this. But like you said, eGGz definitely taxed him and gave himself some really nice opportunities to win. This has made me a little bit more excited about this series now. Yeah,
I think if Astrea is not literally the top 1, top 2 Protoss player in the region, eGGz probably wins that game. So you're right. I'm excited to see what they have in store for us, because game number 2, Steadfast, it's already here. It's another big map. We've got a shot at another big, expansive macro game. And that's all anything ever wants, right? That's when I go to bed on Christmas Eve. That's what I ask Santa for. I also ask Santa to take us into game 2. And at the bottom left in the blue, up 1 game here in this best of 3. But it was not easy. It was hard indeed. Astrea.
And his opponent spawning up at the top right for the Platinum Heroes. Anticipating a hatch block and going for a 15 hatch. It is eGGz. Now, more than anything, what makes me happy about that particular game is the fact that after eGGz made a really unfortunate, unforced error to start things off with that super late pool, he was able to actually not just recover, but make a very competitive game of it. Astrea was in the driver's seat for a lot of that. I definitely think Astrea was the better player in that game, but eGGz created some situations that were really difficult for Astrea to deal with. And honestly, if things go a little bit differently, you know, it's very easy for that to be a 1-0 lead for eGGz.
Yeah, and, you know, on top of that, Steadfast, I do have to applaud the creativity of eGGz as well. Like, how many... You're a Zerg, or you're watching a Zerg play. They're under pressure from an early blink, just like what we saw Astrea doing. How many of them morph in 4 Dropper Lords on the upper right side of the map, send off about 12, 16 roaches, something like that, to go and go and harass, to bring the game back into some level of focus? Maybe Bly? That kind of seems like a Bly thing, but other than that, not really. It's so far outside of kind of like the zeitgeist of ideas about how to play this game that, I mean, good on eGGz for kind of identifying that was an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of players that are... The last time I can remember Roach Hydra drops being effective, you have to... I'm sure it's not the only time, but it's the only time I can personally think of, at least in an iconic moment, is eGGz versus MC from one of the original MLGs back when they had extended series, where eGGz was able to 2-0 MC. In one of the series, he used Neural Parasite and Roaches to beat like a Stalker Immortal composition. And then in the second game, he used Roach Hydra drops and was able to beat MC. That is going back like 12 to 13 years, though.
Steadfast, I'm so glad that casting 8 series over the course of this weekend with Rotterdam means that Rotterdam is rubbing off on you, and you're able to channel some of the esports, the insane esports memory that Roddy provides for us on a daily basis. So it's great. I will gladly take that bit of context, but still, that's 13 years ago, Steadfast. That's I wouldn't say that's modern era.
No, I think it's fair to say that, yeah, it was a very different time. Disruptors did not exist. That is an important note. And I mean, you started with half the workers you do now. The whole game was fundamentally different. We got to talk about this, by the way. Oh, Oracle does get into the natural. 3 drones will get picked off. I think we're going to see eGGz once again going for the Ling Queen Nidus play. We'll see in a little bit if that's what he's going to go for. But with a layer this fast and with the amount of gas that he has, that's what it feels like. And if that's the case, that's now like the 3rd time in a couple of days and the 2nd time that eGGz has done it in 2 days.
Yeah, and
and it's, oh my God.
It's so obvious. Oh, this is unfortunate. eGGz was doing all the right things. You know, he got his Overlord in position. He got a Nidus, but unfortunately, he didn't even forget. An Oracle's on the map, Steadfast, and Oracles are very good at kind of weaseling out, just figuring out what exactly his Zerg is going for, and this happens now. So Lings are getting pumped. We're going to see a Nidus on the 3rd, I think. This Overlord's pulling... Now, it's still going to try the main, but it does pull itself back a little bit.
Astrea needs to...
respond.
He needs to put a pylon in the main because he is playing Blink. This is not charged. If this gets up, this can still win the game 100%. eGGz does surround a couple of Stalkers. One of them does slip away. eGGz, I mean, Astrea scouted this so early. How is this even a problem?
Astrea even had probes. Maybe that was from the wall off, but he had probes seeing the Nidus go up, and these Lings are just getting These Lings are outside of the wall of the Protoss. They should not be getting this done. Astrea, it would be kind of okay to lose this third base here. I mean, this is all in, and eGGz is only on 31 probes, but for now, the gateways get depowered. The Queens are getting so much damage here. The creep is starting to spread, and now Lings are starting to pop in more and more. One Queen goes down. It's not really what you want. Other downside for eGGz, he does not have a Nidus outside of the base. The Lings that are outside of the natural, are outside of the third, are just kind of stuck there. But Steadfast, there's not a lot of production here. It's mostly depowered.
Yeah, it is. There's only 2 gateways active for Astrea. He does repower the other 2. And, I mean, this is still holdable for Astrea. It shouldn't have been. Lings could run into the natural. There was no wall, and there was no shield battery either. Somehow, Astrea is actually holding at the moment. eGGz is really struggling to find the damage that he should have been able to find. I think he may be I think he overestimated maybe Astrea's defensive abilities. But not kind of pouncing on this. Now he loses a high energy Queen. Blink is done. Astrea is going to hold when he had absolutely no business being able to. Really nice crisis management from Astrea. eGGz ultimately does still kill the third base and will deny this additional base on the top side. But eGGz has only just now started to drone back up. I mean, this is such a weird game. eGGz always tunneling. Hello? Hello? We cannot afford to lose these Lings right now. eGGz is actually super down in supply. I'm not sure. I feel like I don't like either player's position, if that makes any sense, you know?
Oh. Are we... Okay.
Oh.
Ooh. That's not good.
Not ideal.
Well, worst comes to worst, we can always resume from replay. But yeah, Steadfast, as we stand here, it's 84 supply to 67. Astrea's got a couple more workers, does not have a third base. I understand where you're coming from, where you say you don't really know how much you like each player's position, but I think a lot of that is we don't like how Astrea responded in that he saw what was happening. Like, he should have just dropped some shield batteries in his main. He would have been fine. But instead, he tried to make it a little bit harder on himself. But I think if we look at the game state, we say, okay, well, Astrea doesn't have a third base, but he's up 13 workers, and he has Blink, and he has all these things. I think this is very strongly a position that I do like Astrea in. Can he move out on the map? Not at the moment. He's got creep in his main base he's got to deal with. There are creep tumors. There's Nidus outside of his third, I think. Certainly a creep and maybe some Lings there. And he's going to have to clean that up. He's going to have to go... Wait a minute. I just... Did you see the message from Astrea?
Yes, I did. Yeah, he says, go remake from before first Nidus. Yeah, that confirms what I was suspecting towards the tail end. He didn't click that Nidus worm.
No.
There's no way. There's no way he did. Astrea is way too smart of a player to not respond to a Nidus worm when you see it and click it, right? Like, he must have just assumed that was an Evo chamber. That's the only thing that makes even a lick of sense to me. Yeah,
but like, no way, right? Because an Evo chamber doesn't go there. Like, it was almost in the middle line. Okay, so I see where you're coming from, but I almost wonder whether this is just Astrea doing the cheeky Astrea thing. It was like, hey, let's remake. Like, do it before the first Nidus. Come on, I'll hold it better this time. Because that is absolutely Astrea's brand of humor. That's kind of how he's going to, we'll see him talk about. That's how he'll talk about things. So either way, he holds on. Either way, the blinks are really nice. I can't believe that Pylon didn't go down the second time in the main. It went down to like 5 HP before Astrea was able to hold it off with the Oracles and the Adepts and the Stalkers. So even from that perspective, I mean, the production got shut down once, not a second time. But now our question becomes how we develop from here, because eGGz, he had 60 seconds to think about things, actually a little bit longer than that, 60-second timeout, of course. Astrea had the same amount of time to just contemplate his position. So eGGz, we saw him droning up a little bit as he was taking that third. But the question now is, like, is that what he wanted to do? Is he going to go and drone out of taking the does he want to continue to drone out of taking the third? Is there another bit of aggression on the map? Does Astrea take his third again? Does he try to get aggressive? Because again, it's not often that you have 60, 90, 2 minutes, whatever it is, to go and get a really solid idea of to think about your game. The game comes at you fast.
Yeah, it does beg the question. I think it's a better Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think eggs, the answer is definitely drone up for sure. I think you have to drone up as eggs behind it. For Astrea, I think the answer is a little bit maybe more abstract, because the question is then, hey, do you try and go for like, because he doesn't have a forge, he doesn't have +1, so he's not going to be countering lings easily. Do you try and go for double forge, re-expand to take a third? Do you get a maybe a Templar Archives, throw down Storm? Do you, double expand? Do you double down and go for just like a huge all-in off 2 bases? I don't think so, because he has so many probes, but it's going to be a difficult time for him to actually take a third base. Do you maybe just do what Hero does and just keep building oracles and just send it with that? I think that it's definitely something where you just, more than anything, just don't overthink it, because that is something where you could actually be like, really second guess your position.
Yeah, I think that is very fair. And if there's anyone at least in the Americas region that is probably pretty victim to overthinking how their position in the game, it's probably Astrea. And I don't say this is a bad thing. I just say that Astrea is very, very good at. He's a rather smart guy. He's got a bunch of funky builds, and that does mean that sometimes he can kind of go a couple layers too deep.
Yeah, we are back into it now, and we will be getting back into the game. Well, we've got the answer from Eggs, at least initially, in terms of what he's going to try and do. Astrea, the main thing he needed to do more than anything was get vision in his main base, and he gets it now, but it is as the Oracle, well, as the Nidus Worm pops. Oh, he targets the wrong Oracle initially. Could have got, oh man, Eggs, he could have gotten at least one of those oracles, but he switched targets a bunch of times, tried to drop a creep tumor. That was, he dropped a transfuse on the Nidus Worm.
I mean, Steadfast, clearly that was a creep spreading maneuver. There were only 3 queens in that Nidus. There was nothing else. It was just like, maybe I can get a couple more creep tumors down. Maybe I can maintain that vision. I can't imagine that Eggs had any true plans on that.
Oh, no, for sure. But, like, when the 2 oracles are overhead and you've got 3 queens there,
fair.
Shoot the oracles. Like, it's... Yeah, he retargeted a couple times. Definitely some panic and nerves showing there. We know that Eggs is capable of more than that. And, I mean, picking off oracles it would have made that Nidus Worm worth it, even just getting 1. But instead, not so much. Now, we are going to see... Eggs did get supply blocked a little bit at 82, so he had to build quite a few overlords to make it a tough position for him. Astrea, see, this is something I do like. He goes double robotics bay once again, so he's going to be going either Colossi or Disruptors.
And that's in this game state when you know that Eggs is behind, because again, he went Nidus play. It was Link Queen Nidus that I did not get nearly enough done. I mean, let's be clear. You know he's going to have to. He's going to have to stay on low tech. Roaches, Lings, Hydras maybe. Although Hydras are probably a little bit too high tech for what Eggs has, for what Eggs' economy will support. And Disruptors, Colossus, something like that. They're just splash damage against these swarmy early game Zerg units are just so nice. So I think it's going to be Disruptors, just again based on how PvZ normally goes. And yeah, I am a total liar, because with charge on the way, it's going to be 2 Colossus. And now, what do you think? Like a 4 Colossus, 3-4 Colossus, +2 blink timing?
Yep, absolutely. Following the footsteps of Classic, who has been doing a ton of that recently with an extraordinary amount of success. Now, in this particular case, with how late the +1 is, getting up to +2 is going to be a real challenge. But at the very least, hitting with 4 Colossus is going to be extremely difficult to do this, or to deal with. I really struggle to see how Eggs is going to deal with these Colossus just in general. He is going heavy on the army, so if he can recognize what Astrea is going for and maybe can jump on Astrea's army as it tries to move out with like a ton of Roach Ravager Ling Bane, maybe there's a chance for a big army crush. The problem is, like, oh wow, he actually just threw down 16 more drones, instantly saturates this freshest base. And that's great, but yeah, he doesn't have great creep spread. That's going to make getting any kind of surround really difficult. And he just doesn't have the economy to pump out the number of units that he's going to need to deal with what his opponent's doing.
Yeah. And by the way, I do want to be clear. It's because there may have been some confusion about when we got back into this game. They did not remake before the first Nidus. This was after everything that happened. We were joking about it, but again, there's no way that that would happen. As the Oracles, they dive in, get a couple more drones here. +1's done, Steadfast. +2 Baneling or +2 melee is on the way. And Astrea, it does seem like he might wait for that +2. At the very least, he has it going for himself. But even as eGGz has populated this fourth base and developed that economy, he's still down about 9 workers. Extend Thermal Lance about maybe 10-15 seconds from completion. But eGGz is getting ready to attack now. He's got Roaches and Lings and Banes on the left side. That's not going to work at all. But into the right side, maybe just a little bit more there. The Banelings try to find their way, and Stalkers, they blink on top. 7 probes hit the deck, but if you're Astrea, you're very happy about that one. A couple more Banelings trying to find their way on the left side here, and they're going to get probes again. Sure, but you need, I feel like at this point, you need more than a base of probes. 19 probes just does not cut it. Astrea now, he has the same economy that eGGz did, and again, we look at resources lost. He's lost a lot less.
Yes, while that looked really nice for eGGz, you got to remember that eGGz's economy, he's not on 85, 90 drones. He's not on 5 bases, 6 bases, hive tech, adrenal glands. That was a very committed attack. And as you said best, he didn't actually kill that many workers. He killed, or sorry, he didn't kill that much army. He killed a ton of workers. He didn't kill that much army. And Astrea, he is now on that +2 weapons finishing up momentarily. The War Prism is about to hit the field. He's got Archons being added on, which are going to be so good against these Banelings, these Lings, these Ravagers. I mean, I just really don't see a way that eGGz is going to be able to deal with the army of Astrea. That's the big problem right now. By the way, this spotting stalker on the bottom right side doesn't quite see the Banelings, but it will give advanced warning. And, I mean, that's just great for Astrea.
Steadfast did see the Bane. It didn't quite at first, but the Banelings ran into it. Stalker tapped it once, and Banelings were like, okay, bye-bye. We're running away. Not worth doing, but that's just because eGGz is getting himself set up a little bit more. Revelation in the main. Warp Prism kind of sitting outside of the base as well. So there will be no more Warp Prism micro in this army. It is just Archons in the front, Colossus behind on 2 different fronts here. eGGz is trying so hard to make this happen, but the force fields, they're so nice, Steadfast. They're making it really hard for eGGz to do anything but coming in on multiple flanks here on the right side. And these Colossus are a little bit more exposed. Banelings, though, they're going to run into the wall, and the Colossus just microing backwards as hard as it can. Banelings into the mineral line here. 15 probes hit the deck on the +2 timing, and the Banelings, they try to get more. They don't even get the Colossus, though. And again, and again, and again, it's economic damage, but this time, look at the army supply, 91 to 52. And yeah.
Look at the army value.
Ooh, I don't want to. Oh God, no gas.
Zero gas. Zero gas. eGGz, it looks nice when you don't look at the context of the game, but he's dead on his feet right now. There is nothing he can do to deal with this attack. Where is the Warp Prism for Astrea? Looks like it might be going for the main base, or possibly one of the... Yeah, no, it did warp into the main base because the drones are falling, but it is the main army that will win the day. Astrea takes game number 2 and will advance on into the playoffs